All right, hey, this is Paul Slack's Good News Broadcast and Pause the World for Peace. And we have a peace man on here, and he's going to hit us off with a little music. Carl Contrano. How do I say your last name?
Contino.
Contino. Even his name is musical. Look at he's standing in front of some musical instruments, we call these things. He wrote a book on how we can gain access to our genius. Hold it. Let me read that again. Genius?
Yes, built-in genius, abilities that we don't know we have. They can make all the difference in the world once we do.
This could be a life-changing interview because I sure as heck don't think they're there. But well, look, maybe you can help me find them. All right, let's hear it. You can start us off with some music.
Sure. So I've got my congas here and a couple of my other favorite instruments. And I actually use them to teach my principles of freeing up the mind and finding the flow and fluency. So just to give you a little sample.
Oh, you turned the sound off. Can't hear you.
Oh, no. Can you hear me? You can hear me talk? Oh, I know why, because Zoom is turning off original sound. Give me 1 second. There we go. This should sound better.
All right, this is live, everyone.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
All right. Little quick sample for you.
Oh,
nice.
Hey, Austin.
Yes.
Austin. All right, we're gonna join in. Austin, hit the table, hit whatever you want. All right, we're gonna do it. Three of us are gonna play at the same time. I got my table in front of me. All right. Yeah, they call this a drum circle and a drum zoom circle. I never heard of it. This is exciting. So what inspires you to use your musical talents to teach with and what are you teaching? Well, let's get to this genius thing because everybody wants to be a genius.
And there are interesting conversations happening about genius where the assumption is that it's the Einsteins of the world. If you have the right genes, born in the right family, you've got luck on your side. There are all sorts of different factors when it comes to understanding genius. I come from a different perspective. I say my company is called Untapped Genius because I say that there's untapped genius that is built in our bodies, in our minds, and life itself. That once we recognize these little known abilities that every single one of us has, that it changes everything, who we think we are, what we're capable of, and then what's possible for the future. And here's the cool thing, is that I came up with an approach to freeing up my mind because I've had cognitive issues my whole life. Dyslexia, ADD, stuttering, stammering, being in brain fog overall was my number one complaint. And after seeing lots of doctors that my dad, the doctor for 52 years, sent me to, after reading over 300 books on personal growth, health, nutrition, after taking these things called nootropics, which are brain supplements, I was still stuck in stammering as bad as ever. And here's my number one pain point is that as I pursued music for decades, a stutter showed up in my music. So even though I went to 3 different music schools, had 40 teachers, I would practice 10 to 12 hours every day, I actually got worse, not
Oh,
better.
Wow.
And nobody knew what was going on. And so, long story short, way back in 1997, I just wiped the slate clean of everything I had learned, everything I tried, and I started from scratch. And I ended up, over 25 years, layer upon layer, creating an approach I call life as a wave. And here's the interesting part. It does not come from neuroscience. It comes from my experience with music and the importance of rhythm, getting into flow, and how those types of things can translate into our lives. That when we are in rhythm, things get in sync. And when things get into sync, that's when the magic happens, right? Now, I combine that with what I had learned in electrical and computer engineering. Specifically, when I learned how a radio tunes into a station, it turns out the physics is identical for my mind. So I approach my mind like a radio. And the singular game at play is to learning how to change the channel to what I call the clear channel. On that clear channel, my cognitive issues do not exist, but instead, what I call untapped genius that we all have, higher levels of creativity, ability to express ourselves, to perform better, and to enjoy life more. It's on that station. So there you go.
There you
Nice.
go. There you go. Hey, Austin, if you'd like to share, Austin, I consider a genius. I do. Austin been working with me 15 years. Okay, just putting up with me. I don't know whether he's a genius or not a genius, but putting that alone in any case. But Austin, tell us your story, because Austin's very musically inclined. Okay, and but he took a jolt also, right, Austin?
Yeah.
You feel like sharing? I mean,
Well, the thing was, like I suffered a major car accident in 1995 when I was 15, but I was a junior. And like supposedly my friend and me and my friend in the back went to like Wegmans, and then when we went back to school because we had a game, we stopped because we had a stop sign, and then when we went forward, the other car 90 degrees from us with no stop sign came, hit my door, the door came out, I came out, and the car landed on me. And like there was a cop that came and said, is there anything we can do or he can do? And my friend who was driving got his license on, well, Monday, and this was Tuesday. And he said no. And then so the cop went on, and then he decided to come back, and then he saw that my like heart was beating like one per every 45 seconds. So, and he tried to lift up the car, but he couldn't. And so he said to the other driver, said, you pull him out when I lift up the car. And then with all his might, he actually did that. And then like the ambulance guy came by and said, do you, and the cop said, do you know tracheotomy? And then he said yes, and then he was certified, and so he poked me in the hole and so I could breathe, and then we went to a helicopter came, and I flew, or I got to breathe and everything, and then I was hospitalized one or either 6 or 8 weeks, and then I and then I was 1 week short of 5 months, and then I was actually able to see everybody, and then went to school, and then 4 weeks I was out of the wheelchair to a cane, and then 4 weeks I was doing fine, and then just that's that.
And here he's here. So Carl, I'm asking Austin. He didn't even know I was going to ask him. The reason is I asked him is because, he is, paralyzed from a part of his body as a result of that. But he's a genius. And this you were talking about quite a lot of scenarios that you had to go through to kind of find your genius, right? I mean, school, music schools, this, that. I mean, it was 300 or something. And so does a crisis, how do we find our genius without a crisis? I mean, Austin he's a genius. I mean, and he's like Lou Gehrig. Austin is at work at 9 like a machine. All right, he is always the most reliable. He runs the business. And how do you account for this kind of?
Well, I'll tell you what. Thanks for sharing, Austin. I can relate.
Thank you.
Very much so with a physical challenge that I had. Back in January 14th, 2014, I was going down a ski run for the very last time for the day, and I decided I'm going to go for it. So I was going straight down the hill, 40 miles per hour. I went off of a jump that I've been over like 1,000 times. But on this particular day, I hit it too quickly. My legs buckled, and then as a knee-jerk reaction, my body pushed off of the jump. I ended up 25 feet in the air, thinking like, uh-oh, what's going on here? And as I fell on my back onto a sheet of ice. And so I ended up breaking my shoulder, punctured my lung, broke my 8 ribs, and I shattered my hip into 9 different places.
Wow.
And, I've been coaching folks on mindset and peak performance for a couple decades now. And, in the midst of my panic, because I couldn't breathe, my one leg was pushed up to my chest. I didn't know what was going on. But they knew that I was busted up, and they had to get a helicopter for me to be taken to the hospital. And as I'm waiting, I hear this little whisper in me. It says, Coach Carl, reframe this right now. And so what I mean by reframing is there's what happens in life, right? And then there's how I look at those things, how I perceive those things, and how I respond. And so by reframing, I get to change how I look at something, and therefore the outcome of that. And so I ask myself 3 questions. 1, what's the opportunity here? Number 2, what can I do with this? And number 3, here's the craziest one. And I turn this all into a game. Even the most serious things, I turn it into a game. The 3rd question is, what do I actually like about this? Now, so while I'm waiting for the helicopter, I'm asking myself these questions. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you kidding me? What do I like about this? What's the opportunity here? I could not even think along those lines until I hear this sound in the distance. It's like, oh, that must be the helicopter. And I had my very first reframe. I had the thought, I've always wanted to go on a helicopter ride. And so then on the helicopter, my second reframe thought was, thank God there are people like these paramedics who are able to take care of people like me in this type of situation. And then my appreciation went to the doctors and the nurses who took care of me for a couple of months. And what that enabled me to do, and this is one of the more powerful things that I believe that we can do, is to take our challenges, the adversity, whatever we face, and not necessarily have to fight them, get rid of them, because certain things we can't get rid of. They're with us for an indefinite period of time, right?
Right.
So instead, I do what I call getting into the yes of what's happening. I don't like it. I don't accept it. I'm just simply acknowledging this is what's happening. And when my mind stops fighting it, then I can do what I consider to be the most powerful thing that we can do, which nature inspires me to do, which is nature seems to not have to get rid of problems. It seems to use them to create more life. That's it.
That's Austin's show. That's his show. His show is all good. All good. 15 years I know him. Everything is all good, forward motion, not a step backwards. Every once in a while he might share what happened to him, but he shares it in a loving way. He's an amazing guy. I mean, he's just so positive.
And this inspires me. This is why I have this outrageous mission. As I told you, my company is called Untapped Genius, and it's all about helping passion-driven creatives, think musicians, cinematographers, writers, poets, right? And then entrepreneurs who have an idea and expertise that they want to get out in the world and have a positive impact, right? The whole mission is to touch 1 billion lives. Yes, billion.
Wow.
Helping each move through whatever is getting in the way, whether it be external life, it could be health, financial constraints, relationship issues, the unexpected problems that come up. But it also could be internal challenges, like in my case, cognitive issues. But on top of that, I was born extremely volatile and shy, socially anxious, if you will. And I had a lot of doubts and fears associated with life, and a lot of doubts about what I'm actually capable of doing, because again, I had experienced most of my life with these cognitive issues. So now the question becomes, how do we help others shine their light, do their thing, make a positive impact in this world that so needs us to show up more than ever, in my opinion? How do we help folks move through those obstacles, tap into their abilities, and do their thing? And so today we've got a mastermind group where we come together, we support each other, we encourage each other. And as my grandma always told me, where there's a will, there's always a way.
Okay, so is this a mastermind group that people can join into, or what are we talking about?
Yes, as a matter of fact, for the first time, after 25 years of doing everything by myself, I have an amazing team of 12 people, and we're in our very first test beta launch. And so folks can sign up. There's a free webinar that they can watch where we talk about what does it take to live one's passion? What's the one thing that makes all the difference in the world? In my mind, it's mindset. And then we come together, and in the mastermind, you can see it as like the ultimate playground and support system to help people do their thing to the fullest. In this webinar, free webinar, just to give an overview of it and a little taste of my life as a wave training to help free up the mind and tap our higher abilities.
Beautiful and more beautiful. So you're going to, I don't know if the materials are a good mutual friend, Tom Martin, sent to me, whether that link, because we can put that link on this story for people to go to right, now and join in.
We can do that, or I can also provide a direct link right to the webinar if they'd be helpful. Whatever works.
Well, no, tell us. Yeah, no, give me that stuff, and we'll put it on the video. Can you say it? But it's probably a long thing.
It's a little long.
Send us that. So that's just very important. I am totally in agreement with you. When I somehow, I don't know, I use this one medical example, because I can see, and I'm a musician, and I can see we're on a similar page of life here. But, even with the medical issues, which are serious stuff, right? The fact is that we're lucky we found out that I had a big hernia. And 3 weeks ago, May 23rd, they dealt with my big hernia, and I'm a polyester mesh guy now. So the thing is, that's a blessing. We think sometimes these illnesses, I mean, as long as it doesn't kill you, I gotta say that. I can't say that all medical stuff is a blessing, but on the other hand, hopefully it's a blessing that we learn about in time to deal with it, right?
Yes, we can. I can see it. It's a blessing if I can see it as such, and that's not such an easy thing to do, obviously. But I have so many examples, not only with myself, but the hundreds that I've worked with. I've worked with the homeless, I've worked with teens, young adults, creatives, entrepreneurs, mega successful, and we all have certain things in common. We all have things getting in the way of us doing our thing to the fullest. And part of what gets in the way is my own mindset and how I view things. So when I change how I view it, I often find that for myself and the folks that I work with, success, movement, growth, expansion happens not in spite of whatever challenges, including health, but because of it.
All
Fuel
right.
for new growth.
What's the web? You have a website too?
Yeah, it's the untappedgenius.com, the link that Tom
The
sent
name
you.
of the book is again?
My ebook is called Life as a Wave. That's the approach that I was just telling you a little bit about. And the webinar is called Thrive, Doing Your Passion to the Fullest.
What's peace for you?
Because
Carl?
that's what
What
it's
is
all
peace?
about, thriving, doing our thing.
What's peace for you? Peace.
What is peace for me? Being in the midst of wherever I find myself and finding clarity, who I am, what do I have to offer, who can I be, and what can I do in the midst of whatever we find ourselves in. Peace of mind, if that's what you're referring to, is not in the absence of the problems and challenges, but it's within them. Can I find my peace, my clarity, my grounding in the midst of it?
All right, you're a good man. Mr. Austin, thanks for getting on also. That's kind of you. Carl, congratulations. I wish 8 billion people upon you in a good way, because you have the right mindset, the right mental attitude, and I'm
Thank you.
very impressed. And
Thank
I
you. This
sense
is
that
big time fun. Thank you so much for having me. What an honor and thrill it is.
yeah,
Great
yeah.
meeting you.
Mr. Thomas he knows he has a great sensitivity of life too. So you're real fortunate because he's such a winner. All
Great
right,
member of our team.
Carl, thanks so much.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye
All right,
bye.
bye-bye.
See you.